Hey children, a lovely day to each one of you. Today we are going to learn the lesson getting to know plants. Okay, let's see what does the introduction have to tell us. In the previous chapter, you have learned that plants are a major component of ecosystem. Plants are all around us and we depend upon them for our survival. Observe the plants around you and compare them. You will see that they are of different shapes and sizes and show a variety of adaptations. Each part of a plant performs a special function. In this chapter, we shall study these in detail. Let's see about the classification of plants. There are several varieties of plants which have different heights, type of stems and branching patterns. Based on these, plants can be grouped as trees, shrubs, herbs, climbers and creepers. Now let's see about the trees. Plants that are tall and have thick, hard brown stems are called trees. Their stems branch out and spread above the ground. For example, guava tree, neem tree and mango tree. Now shrubs, plants with thick and woody stems which branch near the surface of the soil are called shrubs. For example, lemon and rose. And what are herbs? Plants with soft green stems are called herbs. They are generally short in height and have no branches, for example, basil and coriander. Okay, then we come to the climbers. Plants with weak stems that need support to grow upwards are called climbers. These plants climb up the nearby plant or other support. Creepers. Plants with weak stems that cannot stand upright and spread on the ground are called creepers, while those that take support on neighboring structures and climb up are called climbers. For example, bougainvillea and pea. Now these are climbers and these are the supporting plants. Okay, these are the climbers and these are the supporting plants. Let's go further. Structure of plants. A plant can be divided into distinctive parts or systems called the root system and the shoot system. Root system. The root is a part of a plant which grows below the soil and holds the plant straight and upright. The root grows away from sunlight towards the ground and is not green. Plants have two types of root system. That is the tap roots and fibrous roots. Tap roots. Basil has a main root which grows vertically downward in the soil. This is the primary root. Primary roots give out lateral roots called secondary roots. Such roots are called tap roots. Pea, gram, neem and mango plants have tap roots. Okay. This is the taproot. Fibrous roots. Some plants like grass do not have the main root. Instead, a bunch of roots arise from the base of the stem. These spread out into the soil and give support to the plant. Such roots are called fibrous or adventitious roots. Wheat, grass, maize and millet plants have a similar kind of root system. Okay, now what is this activity here? Take a shovel and dig out a basil plant and a grass plant. Take care that your roots do not break. Wash the soil of the roots and observe them and compare their roots. Yeah, this is what you can easily do it. So please go ahead and do it. Okay, when you really explore, that's what I mean by learning beyond books. When you really explore it, when you feel it, when you touch it, then you will learn better. Okay? Functions of the roots. The roots of a plant perform these functions. They anchor and give support to the plant. They absorb water and minerals required for the growth and development of the plant. Roots prevent soil erosion by wind or water. Some roots are modified to store food, for example, radish, turnip, sweet potato, and carrot. Some roots are modified to give additional support to the plant. These arise like ropes from the branches and trunk of the plant and grow towards the soil. These are called prop roots seen in the banyan tree and sugarcane. Okay? Some roots of the leguminous plants like peas and beans have nodules or knob-like structures that harbor special bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen to nitrates in the soil. Some plants like orchids have aerial roots that cling to the host plant, absorb minerals and absorb water from the atmosphere. Okay, now this is the prop roots that help to support plants in the shallow soil. Okay, these are the prop roots. Got it? And these are the branches. Did you get it? Very good. Now let's see what this do you know has in store for us. Epiphytes, specialized roots. Not all plants live on the ground. Some specialized plants called epiphytes, you have to read about them you have read about them in the previous chapter, actually grow up on other trees or on the rocks. They get minerals and water from the supporting plant and rain. Their roots have been specialized to dig or grab onto the larger objects. They don't always hurt the trees. Epiphytes include some seedless species like bromeliads and orchids. There are also epiphyte species that can grow very large and even break tree limbs. Goodness me, they can suck nutrients away from the tree and weaken it over time. Several fishious species are killer parasite epiphytes. This is an epiphyte. Now children, this is something interesting. Please surf the net for this. Alright? Great. Now we proceed further to the shoot system. The parts of the plant that grow above the ground in the shoot system. It consists of main stem, its branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. Okay? Now coming to the stem, the part of the plant which bears the flowers, leaves and fruits is known as stem. It is the major link between the root and the rest of the plant. Stems are hard and woody, like in a tree, are called the trunk. It may be covered with a dead layer of cells called bark. Stems are also soft and green as in herbs and weak as in the climbers. Now can you see this tree which is covered with bark? Great. Now let's go to the functions of the stem. The stem bears the leaves, flowers and fruits of a plant and holds the plants upright. The stem helps to transport water and minerals from the roots to leaves and fruit from leaves to all parts of the plant. Some stems are modified to store food as starch and are generally underground like in onion, ginger and potato. Stems of some plants are weak and therefore their lateral branches are modified to form tendrils for support. Tendrils help plants to climb by coiling around the neighboring objects like in grapes. In xerophytes like cactus, stems become green and succulent to perform photosynthesis. The leaves are reduced to spines in order to minimize the loss of water. Now this is a cactus. It's a desert plant. Please do some more research other than what is given over here. Now leaf. Leaves are thin, green, flat structures that perform photosynthesis. These are attached to the stem by a soft, thin, cylindrical structure called petioles. The point of attachment in a stem is known as a node. The flat green portion of a leaf is called the leaf blade or the lamina. It bears a green pigment called chlorophyll and helps in photosynthesis. Each leaf has a central midrib, which is the extension of the petiole in the lamina. This midrib branches into a network of tubular structures called veins. The veins provide support to the leaf blade and transport food, water and minerals to the leaves, to and from the leaves. Leaves come in many different shapes and sizes. A simple leaf is made of a single leaf blade connected by petiole to the stem. For example, a mango leaf and a maple leaf. A compound leaf is a leaf made up of separate leaflets attached by a petiole to the stem, as in figure 9.8. For example, a neem leaf and a gulmohar leaf. The arrangement or pattern of veins in the leaf blade is called venation. What is venation? The arrangement or pattern of veins in the leaf blade is called venation. As in figure 9.9, the leaves of plants show two distinct patterns, that is a parallel and reticulate. The veins that are here in a parallel, the veins are arranged parallel to each other like the banana and grass leaves. In a reticulate, in this there are net-like arrangements on both the sides of the leaves, like in peepal, neem and mango leaves. Such venation is called reticulate venation. Look at this. Now this is parallel here. Here it is reticulate. This is caudate. And here are palmately parallel. And here we have the pinna. Okay. This is venation in leaves. Okay. And these are the different types of leaves. Alright. Compound leaves they are called. Okay. And these are the parts of a leaf. That is the midrib, petiole, node, vein and the lamina. Now before we proceed further, we'll just have a glance at this. Do you know the coast redwood trees are the world's tallest living trees? They often exceed 90 meters, that is 300 feet, and one of them has attained a height of 112.1 meters, that is 367.8 feet. Now children, for this you need to surf the net. It's very, very interesting, and the redwood coast trees really look classy, isn't it? Okay, now let's see to the activity number 3. Take any 4 plants with different types of root systems. Draw the kinds of leaves you see in them. Can you match the type of leaf venation and the type of roots these plants have? Can you correlate the root system with the types of leaf venation? Now this is for you to do. Now let's see to the functions of leaves. Leaves manufacture food with the help of chlorophyll in the presence of sunlight from water and carbon dioxide by the process of photosynthesis. Leaves have tiny pores that help in exchange of gases during respiration and photosynthesis. These pores present on both the sides of the leaves are called stomata. Excess of water present in the plants is lost through stomata present in the leaves. This is called transpiration. Leaves in some plants are modified into tendrils to give support to their weak stems. For example, glory lily and peas. In xerophytes like cacti, the leaves are small and pointed or reduced to spines to prevent water loss. Some leaves store food and are a rich source of vitamins and minerals. For example, cabbage and spinach. Now before we go further, let's see the activity number 3. Take any 4 plants with different types of root systems. Draw the kinds of leaves that you see in them. Can you match the type of leaf venation and the type of roots these plants have? Can you correlate the root system with the types of leaf venation? Okay, now this is for you to do and sort it out, children. Let's go further. We'll go to the flower. Flower is the most colorful and attractive part of a plant. It is also the reproductive part of a plant. It appears on the plant after it attains maturity or is fully grown. Take a flower and dissect it. The flower is shown here in figure 9.10. The flower consists of the following parts. Before we go to the parts, let us have a rough look at the diagram here. Okay, the parts of a typical flower. What are the different parts? The anther, the filament, petal, that's the corolla, the sepal, that's the calyx, stigma, style, ovary, ovule, thalamus. Okay, now the thalamus and the ovule, the ovary, style and stigma are together called the gynosium. The filament and the anther together are called the androcium. Now let's ponder on pedicel. The cylindrical portion by which a flower is attached to the stem is called the stalk or the pedicel. In some flowers, the pedicel swells up or flattens to bear the other part of the flower. This is called thalamus, this is called thalamus. The rest of the parts of a flower are arranged in circles called whorls. Sepal, the outermost whorl of a flower, which is green and protects the other parts in the bud stage, comprises of the sepals. This is also called calyx. Petal, the second whorl of a flower, which is colorful and bright, comprises the petals. Petals attract insects and this helps in pollination. Petals are collectively called corolla. Stamen, the third whorl of a flower, is a group of male reproductive parts of the plant. Each of these is called a stamen. It consists of long tubular filament and a swollen portion at its top called the anther. This bears the pollen grains or the male gametes. This is also called androcium. Carpel, the innermost whorl of a flower, consists of the female productive part. This is called the pistil or the gynosium. It consists of 3 distinctive parts, namely the stigma, style and ovary. The lower swollen base forms the ovary, which bears the ovules. Each ovule is a female gamete. The ovary extends into a cylindrical long stalk called the style, which ends into a flat sticky portion called the stigma. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther of the flower to the stigma of the same flower or another flower belonging to the same species is called pollination. Now let's see about Theophrastus, 1372 to 287 BCE. Theophrastus was a Greek philosopher whose writings on the classification of plants started the science of botany. He was certainly a student and a close associate of Aristotle, succeeding him as head of the Periphatic school at Lyceum in Athens. He is considered to be the first person to have described the plants in terms of their similarities and differences. In his books, the Historia Plantarum and Cossoi Plantarum, Theophrastus is said to be the first one to have made a system of classification. That's great, isn't it, children? Please surf the net and find out about this person, about this Greek philosopher, and gather more information than what is over here. Now let's move further. When the male gamete fuses with the female gamete, it is called fertilization. Functions of flowers. Flowers help in pollination by attracting insects. Flowers grow into fruits and seeds which give rise to new plants. Now fruit, the ovary of the flower after fertilization develops into the fruit. Fruits are juicy, pulpy and edible. They play a major role in seed dispersal. A fruit consists of two major parts, the outer covering, namely the pericarp, and the fertilized gamete or seed. Functions of fruits. A fruit is the edible part of a plant and it stores food. A fruit contains the seed within and protects it from the harsh climatic changes. A fruit plays a major role in seed dispersal. Now coming to the seed, every seed contains a tiny plant. That's the embryo with leaves, stems and root parts waiting for the right conditions so that it can germinate and grow. The fertilized ovule is called the seed. Ovule gives rise to a new plant. Seeds are protected by a coat. This coat can be thin or thick and hard. Let's see what this do you know has in store for us. Compound flowers. A compound or composite flower such as daisy appears to be a simple flower. On the contrary, their petals are individual flowers, ray flowers, which also have stamens and pistils, and their heads, disc flowers, are made up of several tiny individual flowers, each of which produce their own seeds. Simple flowers generally have numerous sepals, petals, stamens and pistils, while more advanced flowers typically have reduced number of each and parts are often fused together. Now this is a juicy fruit. Now let's just see what further this do you know have is in store for us. The pericarp consists of three layers: epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. What is an epicarp? The outermost layer, which is the skin of the fruit, for example the peel of banana. Mesocarp, the middle fleshy juicy pulp which is eaten in a mango or a banana. Endocarp, the innermost hard layer enclosing the seed. Now what is this? The structure of a fruit. Now this is the seed coat. This here we have the embryo and here we have the endosperm. All together this makes a seed. Now let's see this activity number 4. What will happen to dry hard beans when they are put in a plastic bag with a moist paper towel? Cover the bottom of a large tray with 2 or 3 layers of paper towels or a combination of paper towels and newspapers. Dampen the paper towels but do not soak them. Place the seeds in a separate regions of the tray. Cover the tray with plastic wrap. Observe the seeds for a week. Now, this is the experiment which you have to conduct on your own, but you are going to tell me whatever your observation was. Okay, children? Now let's move further. A seed consists of a part which acts as food supply for the development of plant embryo. This part is called endosperm. It is formed by It is formed at fertilization but is not the part of the embryo. It is used by the embryo to help its growth. The baby plant inside the seed is the embryo and is protected by cotyledons, that is the seed leaf. Some seeds have two cotyledons and are called dicot, while some have one cotyledon and are called monocot. Now this is the internal structure of a seed. Okay, this is the stored food, this is the embryo, seed coat, and now this is a monocot and this is a dicot. See here in both the cases, this is the seed coat. In both the cases, this is the embryo. And in both the cases, here is the stored food. Okay, children? Okay, now let's move further to the germination of seeds. Given the optimum temperature, the water and light, a seed germinates to give rise to a new plant. Function of the seed: a seed protects the embryo and provides nourishment for its growth till the new sapling forms the root. Some seeds are light in weight, while some show hair-like structures which help them to disperse properly. Now this is a checkpoint which you have to solve on your own, or we will discuss about it when you, and then see what we have to tell each other. Okay. Coming to points to remember, plants vary in height, type of stem and branching pattern. Plants can be grouped into 4 categories: trees, shrubs, herbs and creepers. Plants that stand upright with support are called climbers. Plants whose stem are weak and cannot stand upright and spread to the ground are called creepers. A plant can be divided into 2 distinctive parts or systems called the root system and the shoot system. Plants have 2 types of root system, namely taproot and fibrous root. Leaves come in many different shapes and sizes. Leaves may be simple or compound. Flowers are the reproductive parts of the most of the plants. Flowers contain male gametes called pollen grains and female gametes called ovules. After pollination of flower and fertilization of the ovule, the ovary develops into a fruit. A fruit protects the seeds within from harsh climatic conditions. The fertilized ovule is called the seed. It gives rise to a new plant. Now let's go to the important definitions. What is a trunk? The thick stem of a tree that is hard and woody. What is a bark? The hardest substance or layer of dead cells that covers the trunk of a tree. What are prop roots? Roots that arise like additional roots from the branches and the trunks and grow towards the soil. What is petiole? The soft and thin cylindrical structure by which a leaf is attached to the stem. What is a node? The point of attachment of a branch or a leaf to the stem. What is lamina? The flat green portion of a leaf, also called the leaf blade. What is stomata? The tiny pores on the leaf's surface that help in the exchange of gases. What is transpiration? The process by which a plant loses the excess water present in it. What is pedicel? The cylindrical portion by which a flower is attached to the system. What is pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the stamen to the stigma of the same flower or another flower by wind, water, insects, etc. What is thalamus? The swollen and flattened pedicle that bears the other parts of the flower. What is calyx? The outermost wall of a flower which is green and protects the other parts in the bud stage. What is androecium? The male reproductive part of a flower. What is gynoecium? The innermost wall of a flower which consists of the female reproductive part. What is fertilization? The process in which the male gamete, that's the pollen, fuses with the female gamete, that is the ovule. So children, that's the end of the lesson. Hope you had a lovely time in getting to know about plants. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.